Okay, in this video I want to show you how to graph a line using a table, and in a little bit we'll talk more about, in another video we'll talk about the linear equation, and I'll go ahead and just show it to you right now what that might look like, but in another video I'll talk more specifically about it. So this is the equation that you'll see for a line, and that's going to be y equals mx plus b, and all of these letters represent different things. And just to give you a little heads up on what these things are, the y, of course, is going to be our output. The m is going to refer to the slope of the line, and we'll spend some time talking about slope later. The x is going to be our input value, and then the b will be our y-intercept. And I know we haven't really talked about any of these things before, other than input and output, but we'll, at a later time, we'll talk more specifically about slope and y-intercept. But I just wanted to just show you, these are the equations that we're going to be spending some time working with, and it will generally be in this form. And sometimes you don't have the plus b or the minus b, and you'll just have the mx, and that's fine. Okay, let's go ahead and make a table using an equation, and I'm going to give you that equation. We're going to say that y equals 3 times a number minus 1. Okay, and so we're going to create a t-chart, and we're going to have an x column and a y column. And our x's are going to be numbers, and I'm going to give you the numbers. And on the homework you're going to have some equations, and you're actually going to be given different numbers, and then you have to find the value of that equation using those specific numbers. Okay, so for this example, we're going to use -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Now, you might not need to figure out the value, this many y values. You know, we've got 7 different x values here. But I wanted to just give you a good example of what we're doing, and that's why I chose these many. Now, for each x value, we're basically going to be plugging it into this equation right here. And so I'm going to just create another column where I'm inputting the information into the equation, and then we can go ahead and plug in our y values in this second column here. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So wherever I have an x, I'm going to plug in my value for the x. And so I'm going to have 3 times, because that's 3 times x, -3 minus 1. Well, I know that's -9 minus 1, and that's going to give me -10. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing, but instead of a -3, we're going to input our -2. So we've got 3 times -2 minus 1. Well, that's going to give us -6, and we're going to subtract 1, so that will be a -7. And hopefully you're getting the hang of this. I'm just going to keep going, and if you want to stop the video and work out the numbers and then kind of put it back on to see where, you know, if you got the right answers there, that's fine. So 3 times -1 minus 1, that's going to be -3 minus 1, which is -4. 3 times 0 minus 1, that's going to be 0 minus 1, it's -1. And we're almost done. That's going to be 3 minus 1. Now we're into positive y values. And here we've got 3 times 2 minus 1. Well, that's 6 minus 1, which gives us 5. And then our last one is going to be 3 times 3 minus 1. So 9 minus 1 will give us 8. Okay, now when we graph these, what we're doing is we need our coordinates, and our coordinates are going to be made up of an x value and a y value. And so, you know, if you have a graph like this, you could certainly rewrite it, but basically what we're doing is we're taking the -3, that's going to be our x, so our coordinate's going to be an x and a y value. So -3 is our x value and -10 is our y value. Okay, and so, you know, I'll go ahead and just rewrite them, but basically we're just, you know, taking the x and the y, pairing it with the y that we get. -1, -4, 0, -1, +1, +2, and +2, +5, and +3, +8. Okay. Okay, now on your assignment, you're then going to take out the graph, and on your homework there will be graphs for each equation, but I'm just going to go ahead and use this graph here. Notice, just a quick review, this horizontal line here, this is your x-axis, okay, and it's the horizontal axis. The vertical one is the y-axis. And so when we plot a point, we first want to look at the x value, and that's going to be on the horizontal here, and then the second number will be referring to this y-axis, the vertical part. Okay, so now it's just a matter of, I'll see if I can show both here, do something like that. Now it's a matter of plotting the points, and then if you have a ruler on hand, that's kind of nice, then you can line up your points and that should represent your graph. So let's go ahead and begin. Now, just a quick review, this first quadrant, okay, and let me see if I can zoom out a bit. Not too much. Okay, so this is the first quadrant, this is your second quadrant, the third quadrant, and then our fourth quadrant. And all of the points in the first quadrant are going to have a positive x value and a positive y value, because, you know, if you're going in this, going from this 0 on out, all of these are positive numbers, and if you're going from 0 all the way up, these are all positive numbers, and so all the points here would have a positive x and positive y. In quadrant 2, when you're going from 0 in this direction on the x-axis, you're going to have a negative x, okay? And then on the, if you continue up, that's positive y, so I'll write it out. So negative x, positive y. And then over here we said that was going to be positive x, positive y. In the third quadrant, again, the x is going in this direction, which are all negative numbers, and so that's negative x. And then also we're going from the 0 down, so that's going to be also a negative y. And then our last quadrant, quadrant 4, we're going from 0 to the right on the x-axis, that's going to be a positive x, but we are going down the y-axis, so that will be a negative y. And so that's kind of important to understand, and that kind of helps you check to make sure that you placed your points in the right quadrant. So let's go ahead and look at our coordinates. We have a -3, -10, and that first number again is the x, so we need to, here's our center, or 0, or the origin, 0, 0. And because we have a -x, I'm going to the left, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the left, and then I'm going down, because that's a negative, I'm going down 10. And so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way over there. Okay. Let's do a couple more. So we've got -2, -7. So it looks like we're going to be in quadrant 3 again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is going to be here. Okay, let's do another one. -1, -4. So we're going to go -1 and down 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. Looks like I could probably get my ruler and just make a line. Let me get that off because that wasn't part of the line. But let's just do one more and then maybe we'll do that. So 0 is our x value, and then we're just going to go 1. And notice this one here is on the y-axis, and that's because our x is 0, and so we just have a number for our y-axis. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line and see if the other lines actually make it on this one. Let me get a different color. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and just put arrows, because if we had other x values, I'm sure we could put it on this line. Now let's continue inputting our coordinates just to make sure it does actually follow the equation. So now we're going into the positive. We've got a positive x and a positive y, so that's going to, all of these look like they're going to be in quadrant 1 now because of the positive x and positive y. So here we have 1, and we're going to go up 2, and sure enough it's on that line. The next coordinate is 2 and 5, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one is 3 and 8, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And look at that. That's all of those coordinates are on the line. And to finish off, how you generally, after you graph your coordinates, you go ahead and write down your equation for that line, or for that graph. So y equals 3x minus 1, and that's what you would do right there. Okay, so on your homework you're going to be given several examples of different linear equations, and then you're going to be given some tables with some numbers for most of the cases, and then you're just figuring out the y value. And then once you have those x and y values, you've got your coordinates, and then the last part would be to graph those coordinates on the graph that's provided for you.